The woman in the tiara was the bright center of the room, ringed by laughter, helium balloons, and the glitter of paper crowns. Megan Hartley, bride-to-be, hands full of cupcake crumbs and confetti, lifted her phone for a quick selfie with her bridesmaids. No one noticed the shape outside the peephole, the shadow that blotted the hallway light and lingered one heartbeat too long. He had arrived without invitation. Daniel Cruz stood at the door with a casual slouch that didn't match his eyes. The Glock rode his spine, hidden by his jacket, the kind of secret that turned a hallway into a choke point. He knocked twice, polite, almost friendly, and tipped his head toward the peephole like a man greeting an old habit. Inside, bass from a Bluetooth speaker thumped softly against the walls. The smell of pizza, frosting, and hairspray curled through the apartment. Megan heard the knock and reached to quiet the music. "Hold on!" she called, tiara tilted. When she opened the door, the smile slid off her face in one clean piece. It was him. "Daniel, you can't be here," she said, voice kept flat by effort. 5 minutes, he murmured, eyes skimming past her shoulder as if the apartment were a mirror that kept moving. "That's all. We should talk." She began to close the door. His hand moved, quick and firm, his fingers locked around her wrist. The corridor swallowed their words. "Don't do this," she hissed. "There's a restraining order." The hallway smelled of lemon cleaner and old carpet. His breath, of gum and adrenaline. Somewhere down the hall, an ice machine sputtered to life. 5 minutes, he repeated, and pulled. Out she came, shoes scraping tile, tiara askew. The door bounced on its latch and hung cracked open like a mouth left uncertain. Inside, the party went on, glasses clinked, someone shouted over music for the knife to cut the cake. In the hall, Daniel steered Megan toward the stairwell. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The Glock, invisible but present, wrote the script. By the time they crossed the lot, the night had cooled enough to shine. His BMW idled under a sodium lamp. He opened the passenger door, and she hesitated. A brief, tight pause where every outcome in the world held its breath, then slid in. The car's dome light flicked on, haloing her pink pajama set and party sash. Her tiara glittered once like a bad omen. He closed her in, walked around, and drove them into the dark. Upstairs, apartment 214 kept breathing. The music bounced off cabinets, laughter hung like streamers. 5 minutes later, a bridesmaid, tipsy and happy, drifted toward the kitchen for more ice and felt a cool draft graze her ankles. The front door was ajar by an inch. "Meg?" she called, expecting an answering laugh from the hall. Nothing answered but the whisper of conditioned air. "Turn it down a sec," someone said, and the room obeyed. Silence made a shape of itself. The bridesmaid pushed the door wider and peered into the corridors dim, its long rectangles of carpet and light. "Megan?" Her name fell softly and didn't come back. She checked the bedroom. Makeup kits open like tiny treasure chests, veil draped over a chair. She checked the bathroom, steam ghosting the mirror, a smear of lipstick on a tissue. Back at the kitchen counter, certainty cracked. There, lined like evidence, sat the things people never willingly leave: Megan's phone. Her purse with the wallet and ID. Her car keys still with the velvet tag the bridesmaids had made. The bridesmaids stared at them as if they might explain themselves. They didn't. Her hands found the phone and missed the passcode twice before calling 911. "My friend is missing," she said, voice wobbling around the words. "From her own party." The dispatcher's questions folded into the moment like ticks of a metronome. Name. Age. Address. Last seen. Open door. Items left behind. "Officers are on the way," the voice promised, and the promise seemed small in the room full of balloons. While they waited, someone called Tyler, fiancé, out with friends in Tempe. His travel time was a shrinking number that never hit zero fast enough. The music stayed off. Conversation reassembled itself into practical shapes: retrace steps, check the parking lot, call the neighbors. 2 women walked the hallway and came back empty, the carpet giving up nothing. Red and blue lights finally pressed against the blinds, and the room filled with the firm rhythm of procedure. Officers separated the guests, wrote statements on clipboards that made small scratching sounds, noted the phone, purse, keys, the door ajar. One officer began a sweep of common areas, stairwells, laundry room, the dead end where the soda machine hummed. His partner went to find the property manager for camera access. The apartment grew smaller with every answer the bridesmaids didn't have. Tyler arrived as a patrol car rolled through the gate. He ran, breath ripped into shreds, and the sight of the tiara on the coffee table nearly dropped him to his knees. The officer taking his statement asked about medical conditions, recent stress, enemies. Tyler shook his head until his neck ached, then stopped. One name unfurled like a bruise: Daniel Cruz. History spilled out, messages, showing up uninvited, a restraining order that was supposed to turn a person into a boundary. The officer's pen paused and then moved faster. Downstairs, the property manager finally pulled the feed. Grain climbed the screen like static snow. The timestamp read 10:15 p.m. The hallway camera captured a door opening, a woman in a tiara, a man with his back half turned. The exchange was short. The shape of a gun appeared only as a shift in posture, the kind of danger you recognized even without sound. He took her wrist. She resisted for a breath and then was led away, pulled toward the stairwell as the door behind them swung almost, but not quite, closed. Back upstairs, the Bluetooth speaker sat silent, its last song still cued. Someone had written "Bride" on a paper crown and left it on the couch, its glitter catching the light in tiny, optimistic flashes. The room held an aftertaste of panic. A bridesmaid found Megan's favorite sweater draped over a chair and pressed it to her face as if it might give her a clue or a miracle. The police radio crackled with new words, names, plate numbers, loops of asphalt that stitched the city to the desert. The party had become a report, the celebration a statement given under fluorescent light. Outside, the night opened its hand and showed nothing. Inside, 11 women and 1 man listened to the future assemble itself from fear and routine. Somewhere beyond the last suburb, a pair of headlights carved north, and the road did what roads always do, kept going. The night had stretched into something colder than darkness, a kind of silence that grew teeth. At the Scottsdale Police Department, Detective Erin Salazar sat at her desk, fingers hovering over a half-empty coffee cup, watching the footage again. Grainy black and white. A woman with a tiara. A man pulling her away. 20 seconds of movement that changed everything. "Freeze there," she said to the technician. The man's shoulder turned just enough for the camera to catch the side of his face, sharp cheekbones, short cropped hair, the ghost of a smirk. "Daniel Cruz." Confirmed. By 2 a.m., the department's command channel buzzed with urgency. The case was upgraded from missing person to armed abduction. A bolo alert went statewide. Daniel Cruz, 36, driving a 2014 silver BMW 328i, considered armed and dangerous, last seen heading east. Inside the apartment, officers bagged evidence: a tiara hairpin, stray glitter on the hallway carpet, and Megan's phone. The bridesmaids had given every detail they could remember: the knock, the open door, the cool draft. They mentioned the texts Megan had been getting from an unlisted number, short, threatening, and cryptic. "You made your choice. You'll see me soon." Salazar pulled up the phone logs. The messages came from a prepaid burner. No name. No traceable address. But she noticed something else. The messages always pinged near the same cell tower in Casa Grande, Cruz's last known location. That was enough. A search warrant went through the system like a fuse. Meanwhile, the desert outside the city lay black and endless. Daniel's BMW sliced through the night with its headlights dimmed to half-beam. Megan sat in the passenger seat, tiara still in her hair, hands shaking in her lap. The silence between them was thick enough to choke. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. He didn't look at her. "You always say that. But you never listen. I'm marrying someone else. It's over. You said that before." He smiled, a sharp, sad thing. "But here we are again." Her phone buzzed faintly from her purse in the back seat. A notification that would never be answered. At 3 a.m., the digital forensics unit broke through a social media trace. 2 of Megan's bridesmaids had posted Instagram stories from the party. Both tagged the apartment's location. Among the viewers, a suspicious empty profile, created months ago, following only Megan and her closest friends. The IP address on the account linked to Cruz's Wi-Fi. He wasn't guessing, Salazar said, staring at the report. He was waiting. The pieces began to fit. He had watched her life through the glass of a phone screen. The engagement, the venue, even the bachelorette date. When she went public, he knew where to find her. Salazar rubbed her temple, exhaustion pressing in. Get eyes on every traffic cam from 10:30 to 11:30 p.m., she ordered. Loop 202. State Route 87. If he's heading north, we'll catch a plate hit. At 3:45 a.m., the first alert came in. BMW 328i, 10:45 p.m., Loop 202 East. 30 minutes after the abduction. The car's taillights streaked across the camera feed like 2 red scars. Then another sighting, merging onto State Route 87, heading into the wilderness of the Tonto National Forest. That's where the trail went cold. By sunrise, helicopters were airborne. Search teams mapped every turnoff on Route 87, focusing on gas stations, rest stops, and dirt road access points. At a small Sunflower, Arizona gas station, the breakthrough came. The CCTV footage was clear. Timestamped 11:55 p.m. Daniel exited the car, gun tucked at his waist. He paid in cash, filled the tank, and kept his head down. The passenger side camera caught Megan through the glass, tiara crooked, eyes fixed forward. She didn't move. She didn't speak. Detective Salazar paused the video frame. Zoom in on her face. Her pupils were wide. Her lips were pale. But her eyes weren't on him. They were looking past the camera, into something no one else could see. This was right before he vanished, Salazar whispered. Back in the city, the apartment complex was quiet. The bridesmaids had gone home, leaving behind streamers and untouched cake. Tyler Nichols sat alone in the corner, still wearing the same clothes from the night before, staring at the tiara now sealed in an evidence bag. Why didn't she call me? He asked an officer. She probably didn't get the chance, came the soft reply. Tyler nodded, eyes glazed, as though understanding could make it hurt less. At noon, Salazar gathered her team. We know where he went, Route 87, then into Tonto Forest. He's on foot now, maybe with her. We go wide at first light. But even as she spoke, a pit settled in her stomach. The footage from Sunflower showed something else. Daniel glancing, once, into the gas station's reflection as he pumped gas. The faintest smile crossed his face. He knew they would watch this later. It wasn't just an escape. It was a message. By the evening briefing, the desert sky had turned violet. Helicopters circled the forest edges. Roadblocks went up along dirt trails. The search grid widened into the canyons. Woods Canyon Lake, Four Peaks, Pine Ridge, places where the signal vanished and shadows lingered longer. As the night fell again, the same question hummed in every officer's radio. Where is Megan Hartley? No one had an answer. All they had was the last image of her, still, silent, and staring straight ahead through the windshield as the car rolled north into a darkness big enough to swallow a life.